Harbaugh and the Giants are finalizing a deal. This is breaking news just coming in right now. This is fantastic for the Giants organization, bringing in Harbaugh to lead this team into the future. This is a long-term coach, a long-term move, a great move for Jackson Dart, Malik Neighbors, Scattaboo. Giants are on the rise immediately. This was thought to be something that would come down in the next couple days, as there was a commitment by John Harbaugh to meet with the Titans organization, and he's a man of his word. My guess is that he had conversations, and they said, look, are you even interested? Should we even have this discussion, or is this already a done deal? And in his mind, it was. And according to the report that I'm looking at right here from Adam Schefter and the boys, they're talking about how just no team brought the thunder. The Giants had the best package, or the best delivery and presentation, and going all out for this guy. Jackson Dart met with him. It was said that the most critical piece to his search was that he get a quarterback, a long-term quarterback, a fantastic quarterback, that he have a good draft selection, that he'd have a lot of potential cap or movability options to add through free agency, just a way to build his own little dynasty. And this man is now a New York Giant head football coach, and I couldn't be more happy for all the fantasy football assets attached. Let's break it all down. This is just going down right now. Your boy does this live. Who else rolls out of bed in their bathrobe in the morning or stays up to the wee hours of the night to go live when news breaks? This channel does. File on in.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
Harbaugh is the new head coach of the New York Football Giants. And we've got to talk about the fantasy impact. We also have the coaching board, which we can go on over to and finalize this little number here. So this man moves on over to the New York Football Giants, and we can pretty much finalize that marriage right there. And I got to tell you, man, I understand it wasn't working. Harbaugh, the Ravens, it ran its course. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it's not necessarily one side is doing something wrong. It just, you got to move on. Just like Tomlin could probably be potentially a good coach and fit for another team, maybe a year from now after he broadcasts for 1 year, does kind of the Sean Payton track of taking a year off, then getting traded when he returns. And that's what's going to happen because the Steelers have the rights of Tomlin, and they'll have to trade him when he does return to play football or coach football next year. Harbaugh, they had to move on. And if it doesn't say anything that every team that needs a head coach was vying for him, if that doesn't tell you that he is the best option or was the best option available, I don't know what does. And we sit here and discuss the fantasy football impact of the players involved. We'll put Jackson Dart on screen. This kid's got a bright future, Jackson Dart. This kid has weapons, Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart now has a head coach that I think is going to understand him, help guide him. Now, there's other personnel decisions that need to be made. We don't know who's going to be operating at all the other capacities to make this team a potential playoff team in year one. It's certainly capable. It was capable of being a playoff team before Harbaugh's arrival just minutes ago, which needs to be officially official, but it is official. It's just not officially official because it just broke. But this team already had the makings of being a freaking Super Bowl, playoff contending team. Who knows? Maybe Super Bowl in a couple years. Maybe 3 or 4 years. It's certainly possible. Malik Neighbors is one of, if not the most talented wide receiver in the National Football League all around. He's the Bijan Robinson of the wide receiver position. Now, can he stay healthy? We'll find out. Is he going to be healthy for week 1? We'll find out. We're 8 months away. So anybody running their mouth about how neighbors may not be ready for week 1 doesn't know what they're talking about, plain and simple. They're playing a dice game. They're rolling the dice hoping that he has a setback so they can look right later, which they won't be right because they're speculating 8 months out. This is a team that has a running back in Cam Scatterboo that has captivated the world. Everybody loves this guy, Cam Scatterboo. Everybody loves watching him play. Everybody loves watching him and Dart headbutt each other on the sidelines or in the huddle. You've got just an absolute monster tripod here. Let me put Neighbors on screen because Neighbors deserves to be celebrated here as well. This tripod is such an attractive combination of players to sell a coach like John Harbaugh. When you say, look at the tripod of glory you have here. Tripods are hard to come by in this league. And let me just tell you, you also add in the fact that this team, this New York Giant football team, let me pull up the draft order here that we have. You pull up this NFL top 10 draft order and you say, oh, funny thing is they also have the number 5 overall pick. Funny thing is they could, if they wanted, to go after a player like Tate if they do worry about Malik Neighbors, or they just want 2 wide receivers to help Jackson Dart not have to run the ball a ton. This is a very good wide receiver for this New York Giants football team from a fit perspective. Not saying I necessarily want that for my Malik Neighbors shares, but I'm not here to always talk about what I want. I'm here to talk about what I think the teams will do so we can anticipate what could happen. And there's a certain that they could go after a defensive piece, offensive line. They could go after a number of things. They could go after Jeremiah Love if they wanted, even though we love Cam Scatterboo. Cam Scatterboo is coming back from a devastating ankle injury, but it is said that he will be 100% at some point during the season. Could be that he even plays week 1, even if a little bit not himself, but it's possible. It could be mid-season. It could be a month in. He could be on the PUP for a little while. It's hard to say. There's a lot of time between now and the beginning of the season. Both of these star players are injured as of this moment, recovering. But this is quite a arsenal that you hand a head coach and you say, do your worst with this squad. Do your worst with this situation. And I look at this number 5 overall pick. Let me put this on screen too. Number 5 overall in the NFL draft. And I see myself a quad pod, because at the end of the day, that 5 overall pick is rooted in so much upside. You have literally 4 pieces, a quad pod sitting in front of you. How attractive is this from a head coaching perspective? Big spotlight, New York. You got Jackson Dart, exciting young quarterback, which was number 1 on your list of priorities. You got maybe the best wide receiver in the National Football League 1 or 2 calendar years from now. You got one of the most exciting, hard-nosed, tough running backs that reminds you a little bit of your old running back Derrick Henry in a way, because no one wants to tackle this guy, just like no one wanted to tackle his previous running back. So this is a fun, exciting team. This is going to be quite the live stream as well. Some people are going to be in their feelings. Some people are going to say negative things about Harbaugh. Some people are going to say negative things about Harbaugh because they wish that he was their coach. Some people are going to be excited about it. Some people are going to doubt this, doubt that, get overly excited about this, overly excited about that. Let's break it all down and more. We got a couple super chats before we open the phone lines. Let me get to these. We got Blitzen with the $20 hauler. You straight up monster, you Blitzen.
Alert. Super chat alert.
Blitzen, appreciate you, my man. I like and respect Harbaugh as a coach, but as a Cowboys fan, I'm just hoping he finishes like he did in 2015 and Jerry counters with a great DC. It's part of what makes football fun, though, Blitzen, and this is true. That the rivalries, the hatred for other teams, interdivision, out of division, doesn't even matter. Sometimes the rivalries are even deeper, when we're talking about. Mute yourself real quick, caller. I'll be right with you. Sometimes the rivalries run deeper when they're not even interdivision. It just depends on the battles you've had in the past, but it makes it fun for you. Without the rivalry, without that kind of like drive and determination and competitive nature, even as a fan base, it's not the same. So even though it feels like you're angry about this, you love it. Just like, when I'm sitting there, like Josh Allen, for example, I'm always rooting for the Bills, always rooting for Josh Allen. You guys know that by now. And when I'm watching or looking at matchups, or I'm looking at, let's say, the bracket, and I'm sitting here trying to say, well, what is the easiest path to the NFL Super Bowl? I don't want that. I want to go through the toughest matchups. I want to watch a guy like Josh Allen not have an easy path. I don't want people saying, oh, it's because he had an easy path. I want him going through all the trials and tribulations. And it's funny to me when some fan bases want an easy path. The true ones really want I'm saying Blitzen probably does. The true ones really want to defeat everybody at their best. That is the true definition of competition. And Harbaugh knows this. Harbaugh's going to go after that. Giants are up. Smitty, I could be happier as a fan of them. I think you mean you couldn't be. What? Who do you think they should sign as OC? McDaniel would be very, very intriguing. It would be very, very, very intriguing. Did I just get that super chat handled? I think I did. Joey, thank you for that super chat. Stay muted, caller, please, if you don't mind. I'll be right with you. This is the coaching carousel here. Kingsbury would be intriguing. Kubiak is probably going for a head coaching role. McDaniel is available. Daboll is not obviously going to be that choice. You wonder if Munkin might. He's probably going to get a look-see at the head coaching positions around the NFL. So I don't know that we'll see that, but it's always something that in the back of your mind you got to think about. One of the reasons that it was rumored that Harbaugh was moved on from was his inability to move on from Munkin. So you do wonder if he's bringing some familiar faces with him or what that looks like. But Munkin certainly, I think, is going to try. Bring Daboll back. I'd actually love that. And you know what? It's certainly possible if Daboll is now in a non-head coaching race, that they could, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Players go back to teams they used to play for. And remember, Daboll's the one that picked up the phone and actually called Harbaugh and said, Harbaugh, take this New York Giant job. You're going to love Jackson Dart. Take this New York Giant job. Harbaugh, do it. And maybe he said, and then when you get there, bring me back because I want to be with Jackson Dart, baby. Do it live. Do it live, Jackson Dart.
Let him cook.
Not saying it's happening. Not saying it's realistic. I'm just telling you that we live in a simulation anyway. So it's really up to the simulation makers up in the control room. You are live, young man. Thank you for waiting. What is your name and where are you calling from?
This is Top Chef Steph calling from Iowa, Smitty.
Top Chef's dad?
Yeah, I just want to...
Top Chef's dad?
Yes, sir.
Wait, so we have...
Top Chef Steph.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying this is Top Chef, our follower, his dad.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Huh, that would be crazy.
That would be fun.
No, yeah, man. Just want to touch base on this. Obviously, I'm a Cowboys fan, so it sucks kind of there with the other guy that tweeted, but I'm happy for the Giants. I mean, that's a great hire. I think they're going to be pretty very, I shouldn't say even pretty competitive. They should be very competitive with that squad. I mean, we look what they did with, the coaching changes they had. Yeah, and kind of what you were saying with bringing Daboll back, we kind of look at Saleh, and wasn't he at the 49ers kind of after his before his debacle with the Jets?
Yeah, but here's a couple. Yeah, he's with the 49ers right now. But here's the thing about some of these wish list landing spots that we got to think about is Robert Saleh. Where's my QB board? Robert Saleh is trying to. That's not it either. He's trying to get out of a DC role back into a head coaching role. So you're probably not going to lure him away from the team that welcomed him back. He's been doing great there. He's resurrecting his career again. He's not going to leave one job to go DC for another. So you're not going to get Saleh. Just like you're not going to have a guy like Kubiak.
Cowboys could get him for a D coordinator because we got to start making some moves now, whether it's him or Flores.
But I don't think you're hearing me though. Salah's not going from one DC job to another. He's going from one DC job to a head coaching job. Like Salah's not in play. He's not in play. He's trying to get a head coaching job again. He's trying to get back as fast as he can. And if he leaves San Francisco, if he's earned enough fuel and enough gas in the tank to take that route again, he's going upward. He's not going sideways. Now Flores is the only one we've heard whispers about going from one role to a DC role, and so Flores could potentially be on this train. It's possible. Kubiak's another one that a lot of people say. This is kind of like Niner fans. They think they're going to get everybody. They're like, hey, Kyle Pitts is available. Let's bring in ETN. They think they're getting everybody, or especially when it doesn't make sense. Like a guy's vying for a starting job, and it's like he could back. ETN could come here. He'd want to come here and back up CMC. Like it's weird, But Kubiak, he's going from a coordinator role to head coach. So Kubiak couldn't even be an option. Kingsbury, McDaniel, a couple others on this list. Munkin, I think Munkin's going to try for a head coaching job, but I don't know that he's going to get a ton of looks. So if he doesn't get the one he vies for, he might just choose, I don't think I'm going to get it. I don't know where Harbaugh and Munkin are. I just know that from the reports that we saw days ago, part of why Harbaugh was moved on from was his inability to fire and move on from Munkin himself. So it sounds like there's loyalty between Harbaugh and Munkin. I don't know if Munkin wants to attach himself to this train. I don't know why he wouldn't if he's not getting a coaching job. Why not? Why not bring Munkin right in? And look, I think that could be good.
It would work well. They've had the rapport together, the history, the chemistry.
Keep in mind, Munkin was real quickly. Munkin was a part of Lamar's biggest season that he had recently. Like Munkin has been very, very good. He just wasn't, they just had some struggles, But Munkin's a very, very good option.
It's going to be a gauntlet, man. That NFC East is going to be very tough. And you look at their draft position with the number 5. They could go get some wide receivers, like you're saying, or Love. Honestly, the offense is pretty nice right now. I don't think they need a bunch of pieces. If they wanted to add someone, I think on defense would be great. They could go get Caleb Downs, put him at safety, or they could even potentially get Reuben Bain, which I believe.
Yeah.
You have him and Abdul Carter. They're going to be pretty nuts, man. And even with Sadiq coming out of Oregon, he just said that he's going to enter the draft, and I think he's the number 1 tight end on people's list. So it'll be interesting to see if they go wide receiver route, if they stick with Theo Johnson, who had a good year. They definitely got a lot of house money to play with. So as a Cowboys fan, man, I'm kind of nervous.
Not only picks, but draft capital, and then already a core. Yeah, a core of a squad that's just it's looking good. This was a
young team. Yeah,
this was a really, really good spot to go to. And let me reorder.
Just
real quickly and
forecasting. If you were to just forecast, obviously 8 months out, how do you see that NFC East up now?
Let me break that down in 1 second. Let me just go ahead and check this off. So Giants. Let me put this. I'm gonna see how I'm gonna order this. So when we get a head coaching signing, I'm gonna put them up in the corner there. My ranking of the jobs right now moving forward would be Baltimore. It's a tie between the Raiders and Falcons, depending on what the coach is looking for and what the coach is bringing to the table. Because I think, while it's a laughing stock environment for a lot of people that are lazy with their analysis and they're not forward thinking, the Raiders are with Mendoza, that number 1 overall pick, with Genti, with Bowers. Just, the organization, Brady, the history, like it's a great spot. The Falcons are unbelievable across the board except for a quarterback, but that's a really tricky position to solve when you don't have the right draft capital, the right players in the draft at that selection, You've got an injured quarterback coming off an ACL tear. You got an old man backup that you're not sure what to do with. And it's hard for me to imagine the Falcons going far in the playoffs or making the playoffs. Maybe they make it, but going far in the playoffs with this quarterback situation until they get Penix Jr. back healthy and firing on all cylinders. And that might be tough to count on, right away. So what's that mean for like the entirety of the season? So you could easily say that weapons-wise, Falcons are probably the next best landing spot, maybe. But you could really easily argue the Raiders are better. Steelers are a great organization to go coach for. The Cardinals, bad organization, but good players.
Yeah. I think the Falcons are very lucrative, man.
This is probably the order right now, but right now we've got one Harbaugh marriage to the New York Football Giants. All right, mute yourself real quickly. Who am I talking to again? What's your name? The caller? Hello?
The guy.
You. Yeah, what's your name?
Oh, this is Top Chef Steph.
Top Chef. Okay, Top Chef. Hold on. Mute yourself real quick, Chef. All right. Rock out. You're live.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think it's a bit higher.
Rock out always like a lion when he gets on. Go ahead, Rock out.
Yeah, I think it's a good hire for the Giants. I think it makes the NFC East more competitive. I hope my Commanders lock in. I'm not scared of competition. Hopefully, we can have a good competitive season in the NFC East.
Yeah.
And what's your thoughts on the GM? Because it was reports he didn't want to work with the GM. I don't know if they passed that out or he's on the hot seat or they get a new one.
No, I think Scheinbach is there to stay. The beautiful part about Joe Schein is that he's so unaware, and he listens to the people. Like, he listened to the people around him, I think, more than anything this past year. And I think you've got such a polarizing figure in Harbaugh that I think Harbaugh is going to get pretty much what he wants when he wants, and Scheinbach will just agree with him. So I don't think this is a bad GM situation. If anything, it's like kind of.
I'm still here.
It's what?
I'm like, as long as I'm still here, I'll just agree with it.
Yeah, I think it's more so like, yeah, let's let Harbaugh. I think he's going to do the right thing. So Harbaugh, what do you think? I think that's the way it's probably going to go. And I think that, Scheinbach has made such big mistakes, he can't afford to make bigger ones. So I think that he's going to try and make them alongside of Harbaugh versus against Harbaugh. So, if they make mistakes together, he'll feel okay with that. He feels safe. But I don't mind that. I'd rather have Harbaugh be in control and be the puppet master of Joe Scheinbach versus them bringing a polarizing, unless he gets to choose, what GM he wants to work with, which he probably would. I'm sure that he maybe said something, maybe he didn't, I don't know, about like, hey, if this doesn't work, I want to pick the next one or whatever. But it'll be this is a great night. I mean, this is breaking news, man. This is right when it happened. We went live. So we got the coaches available here. Kingsbury, Flores, Kubiak, McDaniel. Some of these are OCs or vying for OC spots, but these are all like the big candidates. Joseph, Stefanski, Shula, Minter, Schwartz, Salah, Weaver, Webb, Daboll, Munkin. And again, keep an eye on Munkin. And even though it sounds stupid and it might be unrealistic, I don't really know the feelings that Daboll has. But Daboll, again, is the one that picked up the phone. Like, think about this for a second. When you get fired from a landing spot, when you get fired from a team, your last thinking is, hey, remember that company I worked for? Remember when I was a personal banker for, a Take a Lap Bank? And Take a Lap Bank fired me, and I hear Steve wants to work there. Let me go call Take a Lap Bank. Hey, Take a Lap Bank, this guy would be really good for you. Let me look out for the bank. So it's weird that Daboll picked up the phone and literally called Daboll picked up the phone and called Harbaugh and said, "You need to go here. This is why. You got Jackson Dart. He's an amazing kid. I want you to go here." You got to think maybe there's something to Daboll wants to work with Dart that much. I don't know. It might get shot down immediately, and that's fine. I'm not predicting I have inside information on it. I'm just speaking out loud of what's going on through my head, and the reuniting of Daboll to New York or the reuniting of Monken with Harbaugh seems kind of logical. I just don't know what the inner workings of that, but it makes sense. Let me go to Travis real quick. Rock out. Hold on 1 second. Mute yourself, Rock out. Mute yourself, Chef. I'll be right with you, Chef. If you got something else in a second, you can definitely pop back on in a second. Travis, you're live.
Yeah, what's up? Yeah, I mean, this made the most sense, like we had talked about, and we thought this might happen. But I think now the big thing will be, it'll be easier for things to fall into place now, because all these teams are definitely holding out to see, what happened with Harbaugh and if they had a shot at him. So
yeah,
I think that's kind of just as interesting now to see where the pieces fall.
Yeah, one domino drops, and they've all been waiting for this domino to drop. They've all been waiting. No team is, because he's the top option, no team is signing anybody until they had a shot at Harbaugh or this thing played out, and all the other coaches are waiting. Everybody's just waiting, and now it's going to be like the gates have dropped. The dogs are out of the gate. They're running around the track, and who's the next one to show up at the finish line? If you had to guess, who do you think goes where next? What is the second shoe to drop or domino to drop?
Let me look at the list here again.
I got the board up now. If you can pull it up, but
I think if the Raiders are smart, they'll move quick to get who they want in there, because you have a number one pick, and it's a huge draft for your franchise, and you want things to be kind of in order and ready to go there. You want to start doing all your pre-draft work and all that stuff. That creeps up fast. So if they're smart, if the Raiders are heading in the right direction, I think they'll do something soon. I wonder if McDaniel signs somewhere soon.
I'll tell you what I predict. McDaniel to the Ravens.
Yeah, I could see it.
I bet you McDaniel, and I know he's potentially being considered for an OC job, but also head coach. Like it's going to be a limited amount of head coaching potential landing spots, and then some OC. I don't know if he'll be. I mean, I certainly don't think that they would sign him as an OC before they sign a head coach or anything. But so I think it would probably be. I think it's either going to be Kingsbury or McDaniel. I
think Flores
the Ravens
soon too.
You what?
I think Flores signs pretty soon too, because he seems to be up there on the list of coaches that people want.
I really think, I could be biased, but I really think the Cowboys make a move for that. That kind of pushes them in a corner now to do something for a D coordinator. That, and I like maybe Stefan. What do you guys think about Stefanski or Monken to the Raiders?
Monken, not Stefanski. I don't want anything to do with Stefanski.
Yeah, I have my doubts about Monken too. I know he's good, but he could never get that offense over the hump.
I don't think Monken should be a head coach. I think, and he's not really being considered for one. That's why I think he might go somewhere familiar, like the New York Giants with his boy. McDaniel. Now, Flores is interesting because Flores has been kicked around as a head coaching concept for a lot of pundits and podcasters, people like myself. But all the news is suggesting he's being looked at as a DC. So I don't really know what's in store for him. Is there a team wanting him as a head coach? I think we'll know more now that Harbaugh's out of the picture. So I think because he still wants a head coaching job, I can't imagine Flores is the next domino to drop, given that he won't go into a head coaching job, which will want to choose the DC and OC. You know what I'm saying? So like having a DC like McDaniel as an OC signed before a head coach, probably not. But if he signs McDaniel as a head coach or Flores as a head coach, which is possible, then obviously they could sign before, the DC and OC. But I don't think unless they go to the Cowboys, where it's just need a DC, which is possible.
What do we think about Tomlin? Is he, because he stepped down,
He's taking.
I haven't really heard any news
taking a
on
year
him.
off. He's probably going to be my little birdies are telling me Fox. He's going to be working for Fox. So we'll see.
Is he done with the coaching career?
We'll see if those birdies. No, he's taking a year off. We'll see if the birdies are being truthful on that one. But Fox, I'm hearing Fox. So we'll see if that ends up coming true. But Fox is where he's supposed
we got to be. Yeah, we'll have to be, and it'll be curious with the Falcons too. With Matt Ryan getting in his position and seeing what they do.
Yeah.
And how much say he has.
Yeah. The one thing I will say is, like, I'm not a big fan of Stefanski for, the way he dealt with the Shador stuff, but around football, it seems teams really like him.
And he was consistent, I guess. Yeah. A little bit.
I don't know if I want him.
I don't.
I think the way he handled that.
I don't want him, but I'm just saying that I think it seems around the league like his name carries a lot more weight than we think it should.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. Chef, anything else, pal?
No, that's it for me. I'll be staying tuned to see if there's any more coaching changes. So appreciate it, man.
Call
Good
back.
job on breaking that ASAP.
Yeah, call back if you get another one.
Later, dude. Later, Travis.
Stefanski I don't want. I just don't trust him personally. We'll see what happens. But, Daboll, Monken, Shula, Minter's been in a lot of conversations. Weaver's been in a lot of conversations lately. Some of these teams that act quickly, you're not going to be able to speak to, or finalize some of the things going on with some of these teams that are still going on in the playoffs. So, like, Salah's going to miss out. I don't know why they allow this during the playoffs. It never makes sense to me.
Yeah,
I don't understand why you're putting disadvantage, toward the guy like Salah right now. You're also interrupting the vibe in the playoff, March.
Yeah,
you're
just push pause till after the Super Bowl on everything.
I know. What in the hell why did they do that?
News cycle.
Well, I don't know.
News cycle.
Yeah, but Joe Brady. I mean, Brady's definitely also another option. I'll put him on the board here, but yeah, I'm gonna say McDaniel to the Ravens. You know why I say that? The owner spoke a lot, and I'm probably gonna go live tomorrow on this. I was gonna go live tonight on this. Is what I had everything prepared, and then when this broke, I had to switch it all. But the Ravens owner spoke in great detail yesterday, I guess, by the time you're watching this. And he talked about Lamar Jackson getting an extension before free agency begins. So they're going to ink Lamar Jackson, hopefully, he said, to a similar deal that they signed last time, but just with higher numbers. He basically said, want to take the number, we'll increase it and plug it right back into the same formula and get him inked to a long-term deal and go one more run. He also said he can't envision himself owning the team past about 10 years. So this is his last run with Lamar, essentially. So like that tells you a lot as to what the organization's willing to do right now. So it'll be interesting where this owner's mindset is. And he also said that their next head coach is he's like the coaches that have, he talked about how Dungy made a comment like, good luck finding a better head coach than Harbaugh. And he said, how can you use our success against us when you're sitting here telling us how are we going to find a better coach than Harbaugh when I found Harbaugh, you moron? Like, that's essentially what he said. And sometimes that's what we say here when we're like, he's the next Bijan. How can you say that? I can say it because I said it the first time, moron. So that's what essentially was being said today around the situation. And then the comments that he had after that were that the coach that comes in isn't going to be judged for their past. And when he said that, the only two names that come to mind are Kingsbury and McDaniel. You could use Stefanski, I suppose. But those two come to mind as being very publicly, failed, but moving on to go get another job. And I because we've had links to McDaniel and the Ravens already, I believe McDaniel will be a Baltimore Raven head coach. That's kind of what I'm feeling. I don't have any evidence other than me reading between the lines on this one and just the gut feeling. It's either that or he's going to be potentially the OC and they bring in a coach. But I don't know. Flores didn't fail. Flores isn't a head coach. So Flores doesn't make sense with that. Hey, the next coach isn't going to be judged for his failure, with having a bad season or, whatever. He's like, not everybody's found at the height of their career. They might have failed where they're coming from. So it feels like it's either going to be McDaniel, Kingsbury, could be Stefanski. That's the vibe that I'm getting right now.
Yeah, Stefanski's going to be an interesting one because people are pretty torn on, some people think he's great at coaching offense and he was just stuck with the Browns, and then others think he's part of the problem with the Browns, so, and like I said, for some reason, it seems like people around the league really respect him and like him, so.
This is what I think.
I think he gets one of the head coaching jobs for sure.
Who are you talking about? Who are you talking about?
I think Stefanski gets one of the head coaching jobs for sure. Not that I agree with it, but
yeah. So McDaniel and Flores. If Tomlin coaches next, Tebow. Tomlin's not coaching this season. McDaniel and Flores would be unbelievable. So McDaniel as head coach, Flores as DC. I mean, I guess you bring in an OC. You could always imagine this. Can you imagine this? What if it was? See, I don't like Stefanski. I don't want to use Stefanski here. What if it was this?
Probably just.
What if it was Kubiak, McDaniel, Flores as your trio? Your head coach, your OC, and your. But Kubes, probably would.
Do you think McDaniel will even let someone you think it'll just be a minion under him?
Yeah.
I mean, he'll run the offense, right?
Yeah, the OC, you won't even need to know who the OC is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I would guess. And McDaniel's got such a creative mind, and to give him a scrambling QB, he didn't have that in Tua. Like, I wonder if that's going to be part of the equation that's been missing, that we finally see McDaniel take a step forward. Now, I will say McDaniel's incoherent. Hopefully that gets fixed. And if you think, well, how are you going to fix that? Because I don't think it's a permanent thing, if you catch my drift. Mm-hmm. He's had some issues in the past that I feel like there's some recidivism in play. Or there was. And maybe during the coaching.
Scenery.
Yeah. Coaching, change your scenery, get back on, said wagon and get things going and cooking. Because he might already be, and again, I have no evidence of this whatsoever. It's just my assumption is, given how belligerent he's been at some press conferences, this guy was trying to take his sorrows out on whatever's around him. But I think that, that doesn't mean that he's still in that current state right now, or that it was even the case at all. It's a total insinuation, total guesswork, just opinion, just my opinion based on his ability to communicate one moment and then not communicate at all when he's at a podium talking to the reporters. Now, everybody has a bad day, a bad week, bad month. So maybe McDaniel's you give him a fresh start. I'm sure he's prioritizing his life differently, instead of like the world's crashing down and I've got Tua Tagovailoa as my quarterback. Like, you give him Lamar Jackson and you give him Derrick Henry, you give him, would it be Keaton Mitchell?
Yep.
Who knows? Or maybe McDaniel goes after one of these speed demons in the draft. I mean, our guy that earlier that was mad about my Singleton takes, like, Singleton is fast. You could put him in this system, and I'd like him there. It's gonna be interesting, man.
And the thing about that is, like, I only caught about half the show earlier, but I heard that talking a lot about Henry and the Ravens, and that would be a spot where you could get back to that 2 running back thing he was doing, that he had so much success with Mostert and Achane, because look at this past year, they were only giving Henry 11 to 15 carries most games anyways, until the end when they ramped it up. And that could actually be good for Henry. I know everyone thinks Henry's just going to, carry the ball 30 times for the next 5 years, but at some point, you kind of got to ease the wear and tear on him if you want him to still be productive.
Yeah. Well, Rock out, any final thoughts?
Yeah, we think about Flores. He's going to get an interview with the Commanders apparently.
Who?
Flores.
Oh. Well, I don't know. That's the thing, is I think that a lot of teams are waiting. I don't know why.
Right.
I don't know why the teams that weren't vying, for, because you gotta remember, like, some teams want Flores as a DC, and so like you're waiting for his interviews as a head coach to run its course, and then when he's a defensive coordinator play, you might be going hard at that because he might be turning down stuff like, I'm not, hey, we want to hire you interview you for what job? The defensive coordinator, not interested. And then like we don't hear about that. I don't really know. No one's going to have all this information because not all of it's going to leak, But I think Flores is an in-betweener. That there are one or two teams that would contemplate him as a head coach, and if they're out of play, then he has no teams that want him as a head coach. So, yeah, McDaniel's also a tweener. He's in between. Halfley, Stefanski, Joseph, Schwartz, Minter, Shula, Salah, Weaver, Webb. Some of these guys are head coach potential prospects in the right spot. Munkin and Daboll probably not. Kingsbury, you would think not, but it sounds like he's in play for some head coaching consideration. It would be crazy to see a defensive-minded head coach or just one of those like Harbaugh, first of all, it's possible McDaniel goes to New York. Anything can happen.
That would be bad for him, I think. But yeah, anything can
But
happen.
McDaniel as a head coach in Baltimore is in play. I think that I'm going to predict, even though I could be wrong and I have no reason to believe this other than what I'm trying to piece together based on my gut feeling on what I'm watching this owner talk about in Baltimore about giving somebody another shot that some people may judge them for. Like, that sounds like Miami Mike McDaniel to me. It totally does. Kingsbury too, but Kingsbury has had major success though. Like that first year with JD5 was unbelievable. So I don't even know if I would categorize him failing, because I don't know very many people around the league that are going to be like, JD5 gets injured and you're like, yeah, you failed. I think that he had huge success with JD5. So that's why I think Kingsbury can step away. If Kingsbury has another bad year under this same situation, he's not getting a head coaching job. I think he jumped because he's like, now is the best time to try and get one. So yeah, Flores, McDaniel, and Kingsbury and Kubiak probably, maybe Stefanski feel like the next ball is to drop, the next domino is to fall, I guess you could say. It's crazy, man. Pittsburgh is certainly going to be, New York was probably one of the hottest places to go, but it really was coming down to Harbaugh. New York probably wouldn't have got the first head coaching vacancy filled if Harbaugh wasn't the one going for it, I think Baltimore in general is the most attractive place to go. Steelers are probably the second most attractive place to go for a coach. We feel differently. I rank them differently for myself. But I think that those two landing spots, it makes sense that we're going to see maybe not a flood of signings, like a lot of people are predicting. Like Schefter and Rappaport have said, once that happens, it'll all come, fast. It could. But I think it's also still going to be directed by the best spots, awaiting, everyone awaiting what happens with those best spots. Because if everybody wants to go to Baltimore and Pittsburgh first, then I think it's going to be like a bottleneck there until that happens, and then they disperse. I don't know. Tough to say.
I kind of feel like Pittsburgh can end up being a name we don't expect.
Really? I could
someone
see
younger, maybe.
I could see like a
Someone we don't
Stefanski
expect.
or something like that, but I don't know.
I could see something like that, but I think it's going to be a name off the.
What if
off
it was
the-
Flores?
I mean, Yeah, that would make sense. Like, I think it's going to be someone that because they're going to want this guy to be coach for 15 years again. You know, whether that happens or not, we're in a whole different era of football and contracts and all that. But they're going to want someone who's like obviously, like, it doesn't make sense anyway, but a Mike McDaniel who could fly off the edge at any time. I don't think they're hiring, you know, or someone that might have a low shelf life. Flores would make sense. He's got the, you know, that temperament, you know, disciplined guy.
Yeah.
Defense.
From a fantasy perspective, the most important names for production would be McDaniel, Kubiak, and Kingsbury. These are the three most important fantasy football implication, you know, signings. Everything else is kind of like there's upside. Daboll, Munkin too, but they're not head coaches. These guys are head coaching considerations. Right. So like Daboll and Munkin with a defensive piece, then that's kind of a similar effect. So I guess you could still throw Daboll and Munkin out here and say they're very important coordinator signings with the right defensive-minded head coach, or just, you know, mundane head coaching selection like I would say, you know, like a Sirianni, who's kind of neither here nor there. He's just kind of a delegator. But yeah, I don't know. If I could choose my landing spots, I would say Kingsbury worries me because I like him. He's fantastic with getting production, but man, he's a journeyman. And so I almost feel a little bit apprehensive about placing him in a great spot because I just worry about turnover or something. But maybe it all clicks for him. Let me start off by putting McDaniel. If this could be my choice of what I want McDaniel. Now, we do have Detroit that we got to put on here because McDaniel could go to Detroit and be the offensive.
There's also Philly's offensive coordinator.
Yeah, so I guess we should put those on here. They're not head coaching vacancies, but they're still really important roles.
Really attractive roles, yeah.
I get,
and like that would be something perfect if someone's like, I don't know if I want to take the job or I can't get a job, one of the two. I mean, a guy like McDaniel, maybe he could say, I'm better off taking an OC job and, you know, giving it another crack next year.
I probably
don't think he will. I think he's going to get hired as a coach, but
I'd probably say Kubiak. Kubiak to the Vikings would be a really good match because of his ability a la JSN and rushing attack. McDaniel would be ideal for Detroit's OC job, or Phillies really, but also would be great in Atlanta because, you know, we kind of want McDaniel to be designing and scheming like he did for Achane, for Gibbs, right, or Bijan or Genty. Yeah. Like those are the three future elite running backs in this league, three of the top 4 or 5. And so if McDaniel can scheme up Achane like work for Genty, it's a fantasy football home run. Bijan, fantasy football home run, and Lions, Jahmyr Gibbs, fantasy football home run. So my hope is that McDaniel is in one of those spots. I think McDaniel goes to Baltimore, but I want him in LV. I think.
Yeah, well, and I was just going to say with Vegas, one thing they do need to think about is, you know, drafting Mendoza and want to develop him and have him, you know, be the long-term answer. It makes you wonder, do they hire an offensive head coach? Because if you hire one of these guys that's an OC, he could be gone in a year and you have to turn the system over to another guy. And,
yeah,
you know, that creates a little more havoc for a young quarterback sometimes.
I wonder how this would look. Kingsbury to Baltimore, Falcons, Kubiak, McDaniel, Raiders, Flores, Steelers, Cardinals.
I don't think Vegas is good for McDaniel.
Yeah. Cardinals, Salah,
But
Stefanski, Dolphins.
you want Salah as your head coach?
No, I don't. I don't. I do not. But the Cardinals seem to want him pretty badly.
Yeah.
Daboll, man, I don't know why I think Daboll or Munkin's going to be in New York, and it's going to be a funny story. Like about, oh, yeah, Daboll's the one that got on the phone and told him to do it, and then he's opening the door for himself. Like going back to New York. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense why you would be vying for your former employer and saying, hey, this is Daboll from formerly New York. Are you at the facility? No. Do they know you're calling? No. Oh, okay.
Either that,
unofficial.
he wants one of these other jobs, and he wanted Harbaugh going somewhere he couldn't.
Yeah, he wants Harbaugh out of the picture. Yeah, I don't know. This is tough. This is a tough. You get one of these wrong, and it's just like a bracket. You get one of them wrong, and the whole thing's thrown off. So it's like you could be 100% wrong on everything just by one single thing going off. I don't know.
Miami makes sense to me.
Yeah, I could see Stefanski, Miami Dolphin head coach. I could definitely Salah, Cardinals, and the Niners fan base hating Salah again. He's a Cardinal. He sucks. Flores and Pittsburgh. I could just see him wearing silver and gold. I could just see it.
Flores, and they seem to like the Minter guy too from the Chargers.
Yeah,
I think those two are definite possibilities. Definitely see that.
Wow.
The
Fun
Raiders
stuff.
is so tough to call. The Raiders are really tough to call.
Yeah,
They've kind of gone quiet.
Would that be some sort of collusion of Daboll back in New York? No, why would it be collusion? Players go back to the same team all the time. And Daboll, like I said, explain to me in logical terms why somebody like Daboll would call up, other than what Travis and I just said would be funny, if he was trying to get him out of the way for another job. But explain to me why you would call up and try and sell New York to your former employer if you weren't trying to get back with that organization. And keep in mind, like, I don't know, like, I don't know what, I mean, if Harbaugh wanted him, I like I said, Scheinbox would be like, yes, sir. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Daboll's a much better coordinator than he is a head coach anyway. But this is the guy. You got to remember, like, you got to think about it logically, too. Who is the man that identified Dart, and who's the one that coached him up from the beginning, and who was upset when Daboll was gone? All the answers to all that is Dart. Dart and Daboll. So it's you know what I mean? It's crazy when you think about it, but like it's gonna be wild. I just have a feeling that there's some sort of reconnecting, rekindling of Daboll or Munkin. I just think that there's something there.
Yeah, Daboll, he probably does really want to still coach Dart,
And if you're Harbaugh and you're like,
feels like that's his guy,
and you're having, and think about this too, like those phone conversations. These like historically when these get like talked about and made aware, kind of like when Philip Rivers was talking with Steichen and they're like talking on the phone all the time, and like Daboll and Harbaugh are on the phone. Why? What sense does that make unless there's like, hey, this is what, we've been talking about it for, you could just hear it. We've been talking about this for years. If he ever got out, he needs to go coach Dart. I love Dart. Dart's my son practically. And if you're Harbaugh and you need an offensive coordinator, are you maybe saying, I don't care what Joe Shine did. I don't care what anybody says. I'm the head coach. I decide, and I'll back out right now. If you don't let me choose my offensive coordinator, correct? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's what they said. Joe Scheinbox is shining his shoes, as they're talking. And if he says, I'm hiring Daboll as my offensive coordinator, you think Joe Scheinbox is going to say no to Harbaugh? But if you're Harbaugh and you're saying, who knows Dart the best? It's the guy that picked him. And Dart loves him. It makes sense. And it clearly, Daboll's got, he's not like a guy that's, too prideful to go become an OC in this situation, because he's on the phone telling Harbaugh to take the head coach job. So he clearly is not thinking like the majority of people would. Like, I'm not going to be littled down to a OC job from the place that fired me. He didn't want to leave.
Right. Well, Dart's his guy. That's what he feels like too. It's like unfinished business. I've been developing him. I was part of drafting him. So I'm sure there's an attachment there. There has to be.
Yeah, Daboll to Tennessee is certainly a possibility as well. But man, this is the guy that handpicked Dart, and Harbaugh is looking to move all of this forward. It makes sense. You're calling the Dart expert. It's like you're getting a hold of the gene mapping of Jackson Dart. Dart fell apart as soon as Daboll left. He started running around too much.
Yep.
I don't know. We'll see. Rock out. Any final thoughts, my boy?
Not to be random, but what did you think about that Jaguars reporter with Cohen?
What happened again?
She was basically encouraging Cohen and saying, like, keep your head up, and then a bunch of media people were pissed off about it. Like, do your job.
I don't know. I didn't really think much about it, to be honest. I heard it, and she's like, just want to say, keep your head up, young man. You did a great job, and he was gracious about it. I don't know. I think anybody has a problem with that's a moron. So that's what I feel. That's all.
What?
That's all I got to say on that. I don't know. I mean, anybody thinks that's bad for, reporter, and it was I don't know how, I was going to say young woman, but she could be old. Maybe she sounded a little older.
She's older.
Yeah, she sounded older. I was trying to be nice. But an older reporter sounded like an older lady. And she's like, young man.
Yep.
Yeah, young man, you keep your head up. You deserve a pat on the back, young man. And he's like, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. And if anybody has a problem with that, from me to you, you're a moron. There you go.
Yeah, I know. That was kind of wild. People were getting all pissed off about it.
Yeah, well, yeah, obviously, say it to her face, because she sounded like the kind of woman that wouldn't allow that either.
Right.
She sounds like the woman would take her little handbag, her little hand purse, and just slap you on the side of the head with it and say, you don't ever talk to me and tell me what to do.
I got some change in here.
Yeah. Young man. You got a problem with what I said, young man?
I got quarters, pennies, nickels, and dimes. What do you want?
All right, this super chat from BBQ. All right, Rock Out, I'll see you on the Dynasty show. We're probably going to talk about this. Dynasty values of Dart and the boys. So call back on the Dynasty show.
All right, cool.
All right, Travis, call back in the Dynasty show if you could.
BBQ.
Young man.
Has a super chat there. And last thing I was just going to say was, has Kubiak been mentioned for Vegas at all? If he's like
mentioned
there or anything?
Not by anything that I feel like is actually like real, like suggested and people like hoping. Yeah, I think I have, but I don't know.
That feels like a fit, but I haven't really heard it.
Kubiak, Kubiak to Genti or Bijan, and Kubiak probably doesn't leave to become an OC. Like that's what doesn't make sense about the Flores leaving to become a DC.
Right.
Like, why? Unless he's like, I can't win here. Because the other side of the ball, actually I can see it. Never mind. It makes sense. These guys keep putting Sick Nasty, put on your earmuffs. These guys keep sending J9 out there, and I can't do anything with this field position BS. I'm out of here. Like, so maybe there's some.
That's another domino that'll fall. That could be trouble for the Vikings, because he did really well to coach that group up. Like, they have some good players, but he coached that defense up to a point that they shouldn't have been at, I think, because they were underrated defense this year.
Yeah. If I'm looking for a head coaching job, Pittsburgh would be an ideal spot as they have 12 picks, 7 first round, 4 in the first 4 rounds, 7 in the first 4 rounds. Great way to draft your guys. Yeah, they're definitely, from a football perspective, from old school coaches, NFL, people, not fantasy people. The Steelers are probably the second most attractive landing spot behind Baltimore.
QB, though.
And some might say Baltimore or Steelers are more attractive than Baltimore. Yeah, if it were me, and people can say whatever they want, and I wouldn't even be offended if BBQ's like, I completely disagree with you, and that's totally fine. But I would rather be in LV than in Pittsburgh. But that sounds so stupid right now, and I get that. And sometimes when you're from the future, you can't, you sound like a moron. If I showed up in the 70s and told you that we'd have the internet, you look at me like a moron. But I just think that this is on the rise. The foundation's been built. Mendoza, I believe in, and I can't go anywhere without a quarterback. I couldn't. Miami's it's a lost. You're gonna be completely caught up in, if you don't get the QB figured out quickly, you're gone. In Pittsburgh, if they could bring Willis in, I think in retrospect I could say never mind, that would have been a great place. But that's hard to say that Willis for sure wants to go there. Can you make a trade for Mac Jones? The quarterback situation is kind of tough. This is rookies, free agents. I put these boards together, spent all day figuring out how to, make sure the graphics were all ready to go for this offseason. But Mendoza to the Raiders, and then you've got, Mac Jones is a trade piece. He's not a free agent. But the rest of these guys, like Kyler, you need to trade for. Tua, where is he going to be? Is he going to get cut, or is he going to get traded? Like, there's a lot of potential. Like, if you could put Kyler, Kyler in some of these spots would maybe work and maybe not. It just depends on who the OC and head coach are, because you can't just, Kyler's a very, very tough player you have to build an offense around him. You can't just plug him into something. So like, you got to find the person that can architect that kind of offense. It's kind of like saying, you're hiring an architect, right? And if the architect only builds buildings and you're building a bridge, you think you're going to, just because you hired an architect, you're going to be okay? Like, just because you hire an offensive coordinator or head coach architect, if they don't know how to build a Kyler Murray offense, then you're cooked. So we can't even say right now which one of these guys are good fits for what. Pittsburgh is a really, really good spot, minus the quarterback situation. Now, I will say this. I do kind of like Will Howard. I do think Will Howard is an intriguing option. But I don't think it's something you like. It's not going to lure me into moving away from Baltimore, where I get Lamar or Mendoza in LV. You know what I'm saying? Like, if those teams were off the board, let me go back here. If, let's say, you're a head coach and the Raiders are off the board, the Baltimore Ravens are off the board, even the Falcons are more attractive to me because of all the weapons. It's unbelievable there. And I still like Penix Jr., but I'd be a little worried about it, I would say of all the rest of the teams, Cardinals, Dolphins, Titans, even with Ward and Browns, I would take a chance that I would figure it out. I would get Mac Jones in a trade. I'd give up more than I need to. Shanahan will trade him. If you give up the right offer, Mac's gone. Like, Shanahan, he's everybody thinks that he loves this depth. Man, he trades his depth like nothing, and he just redrafts it. But there is a little bit of a personal tie to Mac Jones, though, because that is said to be the quarterback he actually wanted to draft during that Trey Lance selection. And so there might be more of a complexity there than we think. But I still think that if you had to, you could get Willis or you could get Mac. If you had to, you could figure it out. You could just offer Willis the world. You just offer him the absolute highest, and you could figure it out. So in that BBQ, I could get behind, like, if you said, Smitty, I have an open checkbook and guarantee that we can make Willis say, damn, boy, I'll take that, then I could definitely get behind Pittsburgh being better than the Falcons and being tied maybe with the Ravens. But I think I'm crazy, but I just love this Raiders situation. The Raiders landing spot for a coach is no different than the Detroit Lions or the Cincinnati Bengals looked like when they were trash. And everybody said, they're the Bengals. And they have been. But it's still a great, like, if you handed me T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, Chase Brown, and all I had to do was fix this defense, I would take that job in a heartbeat. I know they haven't produced because they've had inept coaching that is amazingly still there. I think it's still a great spot. You got so many pieces to work with. Like, how close are you? You're very close. They can't close. They can't do what they need to do. And Cincy, it doesn't mean that it's not a good spot. It just means they have incompetence there running it. And, somebody said, hey, the Detroit Lions job is available. You'd be like, if they got rid of Campbell and that job was available, Detroit would be the hottest team in spot available. Like, they would be the place to go. You got everything there. So that's how I feel about the Raiders in 1.52 years. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, I agree. I love it. Mendoza is the difference maker. Them getting that number 1 pick and being able to just slide him in there is that makes all the difference in the world, because he just seems like that, steady, like mature, ready to go type of guy. I'm not saying he's going to be a superstar right away, but a franchise quarterback, in other words.
Yeah, BBQ, thank you very much. Appreciate you with your super chat. This one here from I don't know how to say your name. We'll call you Mean.
Yeah.
I don't know, Mean. Thanks for another year of making fantasy a blast, Smitty. The overlap of sharp insight and entertainment you offer is something that simply doesn't exist elsewhere. Keep fighting the good fight. Thank you. I appreciate you for dropping the super chat and the acknowledgement and just the selfless super chat at this moment in time where you don't even have a fantasy question. You're just trying to say thanks. And I'm very glad you found this channel, bro. Very, very glad you found this channel.
Is it no, I might sound stupid here, but is it a name, or is it yeah? I mean, yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
yeah, I mean, yeah. I think maybe. I think so. Is that what it is? Yeah, I mean, yeah.
At first, I thought it was like Jaime or something.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was gonna be like
if it's...
bend over or something like that, where I'd be reading it as I read it, and I'd be like,
yeah. True.
Seymour Butts. I mean, yeah. All right, and by the way, this is a $20 hauler. I didn't give you the proper celebration. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Alert. Super chat alert.
Let him cook.
Bingo, he says. Travis, you nailed it. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean,
Nice.
the dude dropped a $20 super chat. Of course he means yeah.
Let him cook.
All right, Travis, I'll see you on the Dynasty channel.
Yep.
All right,
Yeah,
later, bro. Guys, we're going to go on the Dynasty channel now and discuss the Dynasty values of Malik Neighbors, Cam Scatterboo, Jackson Dart, the number 5 overall pick, with Harbaugh now landed in said New York Giants town. New York Football Giants have officially, not officially, but officially, with the singular officially, as we await the official. They have they're finalizing terms with John Harbaugh, the New York Football Giants. So meatloaf for everybody. I smell meatloaf. Meatloaf. Hey, Miss Smitty, once you wake up and get that meatloaf in the hey, Miss Smitty, wake up, get a rack going. What do you think you're doing? What do you think you're doing sleeping right now? What in the hell do you think we're doing? Get that meatloaf in there now. One of these days, she's going to just kick the door in. Say, I've had enough, Sometimes you know, it's funny. You push it too far. I'm sleeping, and I keep hearing meatloaf over and over and over. He's going to throw a whole rack in here, uncooked, into the studio. You're going to see meatloaf flying everywhere. Ham. Stuffing. All right, guys, get on over to the Dynasty channel. If you don't know, now you know, or you will know once I hit this. So for those of you that don't know, so I'm live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, every single Monday through Friday. Live whenever big news breaks. Live at midnight Eastern almost every single night. That's what this show is right here. And then I don't know if this has, so the fantasy football show, I don't know. I don't know if I have the Dynasty. So it's Dynasty Fantasy Football. It's youtube.com/Dynasty Fantasy Football. I got to get that graphic up here so you guys can see it. But it's Dynasty Fantasy Football. It's in the description of the video. Here's the link right here. I'll drop it in the live chat. We're going to go live on the Dynasty channel right now and discuss all these. So click the link right here, and we'll see you over there. By the way, memberships is back on. They turned it back on today. Memberships and also super chatting are back on the Dynasty channel. So please renew your memberships on the Dynasty channel when we get over there. They turned them off for it was 18 days as I didn't stream enough during the season. So it caught up to me, and they're like, you haven't streamed at all. I'm like, I'm streaming right now. I'm streaming for like a month straight. But we had gone so long without streaming, it had triggered, the lights to get shut off in terms of the super chats and the monetary. But it quickly got back on. As soon as we started streaming again. But so we may need some assistance. I don't know if there's anybody out there. No pressure at all to anybody. But if anybody wants to maybe gift some memberships over on the Dynasty channel tonight, see if it's working. We can at least kickstart those Dynasty channel memberships, because we pretty much zeroed them out, which is pretty disappointing. Super chats will be active, and gifting memberships will be active. We don't have ads on it yet. That will be next week. So good news is you won't see an ad playing. So see you over on the Dynasty channel right now. Congrats to all you Giants fans out there. Do it live. Do it live.
In a distant galaxy far away, a planet called Neighboron had an extinction-level event which caused utter collapse. One pod escaped containing a young boy, the last of his kind, drifting off course after an asteroid shower encounter. The pod found its way into Earth's orbit and crash-landed on a small farm. On this farm, the young boy lived a normal and hidden life, until his powers became evident and his mission and purpose became clear. His name was to be Neighbors after his home planet. He would comb the earth looking to save all that needed his help. At first, Neighbors was keeping up with all who needed his help, but he couldn't do it alone. He needed a sidekick to truly become invincible and turn into a supernova.
And with the third overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select.
Ended up not being the third overall pick, but still a very similar story. Dynasty values for Dart and the boys over on the Dynasty channel. See you over there in T-minus, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. Dose. Thank you to all my super chatters. Thank you to my mods as well. Thank you, BBQ, for dropping the gifted memberships and the super chat. Thank you, Blazin. Thank you. For your $20 super chat. And thank you, Joey. Thank you to my moderators. See you all on the Dynasty channel in about 3, 4, 5 minutes.